And welcome to another episode of I Heart Geek. Yay! It's the new series, guys. I'm so excited for this one. We are in the What If series, which means we are dead in the middle of the multiverse. And this is something that, if you've been watching the show for a while, you know this is something I'm very excited about. I'm Dub. I'm here with Michelle. I'm here with Courtney. And we're here with Blythe. How are you guys doing today?
Super good, man. I'm super excited about this. The multiverse, it's here and it is 100% awesome.
Huge.
It's going to be really good. Now, for first thing I want to say, we are doing this episode was Captain Carter, which is a take off of what if Peggy Carter had simply moved her positioning in when Steve went in for the super soldier serum. Changes everything. We'll get into all that in a minute. But first, I want to talk about this real quick. So for these What If episodes, we are doing a contest. Woo! So what kind of contest, you ask? You want to get a free shirt? I know you do. No? Okay. So what we are... So how this contest is going to work is you can get up to four different entries every week. What you're going to need to do is... whichever social media that you follow us on, may it be Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook, we need you to like and comment and follow. So for every one of those, every time you do that on any of those 4 social medias, you get 1 entry. So you can get up to 4 per week. And then at the end, depends on how many people actually get into this, but it'll be either somewhere between 1 and 4 shirts we're going to be giving away. So yay. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say, especially in your comments on all these, and we will be talking back to you. Okay, so good luck and keep on geeking on. Yes, well, I'll be working on my intro on that for the next 9 weeks. So
you did good.
Yeah, this is why I have somebody else read the listener feedback every time. I just say, I don't like doing that. So
somebody named Courtney.
Yes, I'm going to have you read that next time.
Sometimes me.
Sometimes Michelle.
If I'm not there, you get stuck with it, Michelle.
That's usually how it works. So now going into this, what were you guys expecting? Leave out what we actually saw. What were you expecting going into this whole series? Let's start with Blythe on this one.
I think I was expecting kind of what we got. There wasn't too much secrecy from the trailers, at least in this episode. Now, we know that about 4 or 5 of the episodes and what they're going to be, but that leaves about 4 or 5 episodes that we have absolutely no idea
tell us
what's
week to week.
Yeah, exactly. what's going to be coming from it. So I think that's where the surprise is definitely going to be. But they showed us in the trailers what was coming, and I am 100% into it. It was a fun ride.
Michelle, what about you? I know you probably weren't expecting the animation quite so much, but what were you expecting going into this?
Honestly, I don't know. And yeah, so everyone should probably know by now, I'm not an animation fan. It's very hard for me. But I did it. I stuck through it. So I guess I was just anticipating seeing her, just kick some butt.
Well, you got plenty of that.
I feel like that's what we got. So I'm pretty happy with that part.
So Courtney, what were you expecting going in?
I don't know, like Blythe. I mean, they gave some of it away in the trailer, but frankly, I just went in with the excitement of not knowing what Disney and Marvel were going to give us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we knew the first episode was going to be Captain Carter, and I want to say thank you, Marvel. As the hardcore Peggy Carter stan in this group. Thank you so much.
And I think they did a great job with her. Now, when I went in, I am actually a super, super, super huge fan of the What If comic books. I've always liked or DC does Elseworlds. I like that taking the stuff you love, twisting it so it's only on one, maybe 2 issues at the most, and then it goes away so that you can do, quote unquote, like the gender swap superheroes and the what if this character was this, what if this guy was really a jerk. I love that, but I don't want to see my characters ruined long term for it. So if you want to take a swing with it, that's awesome. So that I just kind of went in as expecting, okay, they're going to twist things a little bit, and I don't have to care, because there isn't going to be an Easter egg. And I was right. I don't think that we have to care about any of these characters because we're not going to see it again much. I know Blythe,
that's a good point.
I know Blythe has some other ideas on that, but go ahead.
Yeah. I think that this will be an opportunity for the MCU to kind of test drive things that they may not necessarily want to fully dive into. There's already talks about bringing Peggy in somewhere in a live action version of this, which would be awesome, even if it was just in
if we're getting a cameo. Yeah, if you're getting a cameo of
exactly.
going through the multiverse, I don't want to see Peggy that we love gone.
No. I don't think that we'll see her gone. I think we'll see.
I don't think this does that though.
Yeah,
no, it's not going to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll just give them opportunity to test drive some things out before they introduce it into a live action setting.
Yeah. So these shows are going to be a little bit shorter than we've been doing with Loki and all that because there isn't really any Easter eggs. We're just going to kind of gush on the films and why you should like it and some things to pay attention to, and that's about it. So we're not going to go in the hardcore, what did I just watch? Because you kind of know what you just watched. So let's start right off. Can we please have Stan Lee doing his final cameo as the Watcher or a Watcher?
It would have to be a Watcher because we've already seen art for this one.
Yeah,
I mean, we don't see it in this, but it's all over the internet of what he looks like. So it's not Stanley,
which sucks because I loved that in which Avengers was that in that we saw?
It was Guardians 2, I believe.
It was Guardians 2.
When you see him, he's not a Watcher. I think he's credited as a Watcher informative or something like that. So he's the one going and taking the information to the Watchers. So yeah, I don't know if we'll necessarily see him as a Watcher, but he has his lore in there with them.
So Michelle, I want to ask you this real quick because I want to know if we need to go into it. Do you know who the Watcher is or what the Watcher is?
Very, very vaguely. I have a brief sort of understanding. So yeah, if you guys want to go into detail,
you want to hit
not be mad.
You want to hit into who the Watcher is a little bit, either Blythe or Courtney?
Go ahead, Blythe.
Sure. So the Watcher is a cosmic being who is dedicated with the sole purpose of watching the events that happen throughout the universe, but is unable to intervene. That's his title. That's his job. He does break away from it from time to time.
Yeah.
At least our Watcher does. So every universe has its own Watcher. Uatu is the Watcher of the 616 universe, which is the main Marvel universe. He from time to time will dive in and do stuff to intervene because he starts to care for humanity of it. Okay. But yeah, that's basically what he is. And hats off to Jeffrey Wright as the voice of the Watcher.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't think of anyone else who would have been able to. I mean, I'm sure someone else would have been able to do it, but he was
perfect. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so as we said, the whole premise of this is instead of Peggy standing in the back in the booth, she was standing on the floor when they gave the super soldier serum, which literally changes everything. Now I like everything that did change. They did a really, really good job of explaining why. For instance, when they went in with, why was she able to get, or why was everything stopped faster? It's because she was right there and she actually made the move. I like that. I really liked how when they did, spoilers for later, how when they did the Hydra Stomper, they called him, how they made that to explain why Winter Soldier did not lose his arm. Because he would have lost his arm had he have not been there because he slowed down the train at that moment. Yeah. So I think they did anything that changed, they did a great job and didn't feel forced.
Mm-hmm.
And he would just, sorry.
Go ahead, Michelle.
And he would just be Bucky. There wouldn't be a Winter Soldier that was Bucky. So it's just Bucky, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, not in this
Yeah.
universe for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just
Um,
Bucky.
They did a good job throughout the whole episode of showing not only the subtle changes of what she's like as uh um or Captain Carter,
Mhm.
but the differences in how things play out. If you
Yeah.
watch it, everything happens like 2 to 3 steps ahead of the time it happened in Steve's timeline because she's so on top of things. She's such a person who is
Mhm.
behind the scenes making the plans and doing the stuff for the SSR that they got the Tesseract that much sooner. They
Exactly.
went in and stopped Red Skull that much sooner because not only was she there leading the charge, she was also there creating the plans,
And she
which
was
I thought was
trained,
awesome.
which was
Yes,
great.
exactly.
Something that I saved for later, but I'll throw this in now. I mean, how much the character changes because you don't have the naivety of Steve.
Steve.
You have you have actually a soldier
Sure.
who's
Yeah.
higher up that actually makes the plans. And that's a game changer for Captain America. Would I ever love this character as much? No, because I love the character because of the naivety. But it's very exciting how they did it.
Yeah.
So they both work really well, I think, but they're very different characters, even with
sure.
such a similar story. And I think that was great that they did it.
Mhm.
And it made what else did I see? It made Steve grow up. Steve grew up a lot when he went into the Hydra Stomper, which I think is silly. But okay, so I do have one question with the Hydra Stomper. Do you think that Tony ever becomes Iron Man in this universe? Or is he better equipped? Or I'd like to hear all your opinions on that.
I wouldn't see why not. And maybe because of how early, all of this was going on, maybe it would even be more advanced quickly
Yeah.
than it was. But
No,
it's obviously like in the blood, right? So
Yeah, I think it's there, but you don't know if Tony doesn't own it, does he ever go for it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like Michelle said, I think that the technology when we would eventually get to Tony would be that much better because essentially Tony made the same thing, but what, 40, 50 years, 70 years later,
Yeah.
wherever it is in the timeline. So if you start at the point where Howard started and then he's progressing on it as time goes on, maybe he takes it up at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe he becomes Steve's war machine
Yeah.
or something along those lines. Or maybe Tony never exists because they pulled Howard into the field once, and if they do it again, who's to say he makes it out?
Oh, wow.
He's not a field person. So we may not have a Tony Stark.
Yeah. And this is what is so fun with these what ifs, because these are questions that are legitimate and it really makes you think about it. And because this is all we're going to see, cool. You can let your mind go wild and this happened and it didn't in this world instead of just disappearing.
What I really liked about the episode is it literally felt like an extension of the Agent Carter TV show.
Yeah.
The series is available. Both seasons are available on Disney Plus if you guys want to watch them. They're amazing. But I mean, the fight, which is done to swing music, she literally does that twice in the Agent Carter TV show. She beats somebody up to "It's a New Day" by Peggy Lee, and then she beats somebody up, and so it was very much an extension, and her interactions, Captain Carter's interactions with Dominic Cooper, who does the voice of Howard Stark, who played Howard Stark,
first one, yes,
they have the same kind of back and forth that we got in Agent Carter too, and that's one thing I really loved. It felt like an extension, as if this is what happened. This is what Agent Carter would have been if she had taken the super serum instead. So I really dug that a lot.
So now, with this show and you loving the Agent Carter TV show, you felt 100% that they portrayed Peggy herself, not just her actions, but the character of Peggy was portrayed justifiably. Like she was they did a good job.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
This is our Peggy. She just has super strength.
Yeah.
That's great.
And so yeah, the characterization, there's no change in her character. This is who Peggy this is who the Peggy we know and love in the MCU would act if she had the super serum. And this is why I know there's some debate on whether this is how she would act or if the serum would even work or if she would turn her evil. No, I mean, this is exactly what she would become because it's essentially what she is now. She's just not, she can't punch a tank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? And I mean, the thing is, there was that part I love too, because there's that playful nature of her finding out all of the powers and all the things that she can do. And it very mirrors the Captain America First Avenger because, you know, he looks down at himself and is like, whoa, I'm hot. So, I mean, it's like, you know, I mean, that's what's fun. They threw that in there.
Yeah.
So.
And see, I always liked that about Peggy is that, you know, she kicked butt anyway, you know, when we've seen her before. And now it's just like, obviously it's elevated, but being able to see her do that and see the character that I knew, you know, already, it fell right in line to me. It was just her elevated.
Yeah.
So it was that part was very believable and enjoyable for me to watch.
So now let's talk about the most controversial thing about this show. And this is something that this is a take it or leave it, the animation style itself. Now, the animation style is very much a Telltale game, only a little more smoothed out. However, if you watch it long enough, it started to feel like a Saturday morning cartoon. I hated it when I first saw it, I'm not going to lie. I just didn't like it for this because I don't like motion comics. I don't like all that stuff. But the longer I watched it, the more it became kind of cartoony, like Saturday morning style. So I'm okay with it. I mean, it's not the DC animated universe. It doesn't have that just outstanding look of it. It's got its own look. But the jury's still out. It doesn't make me so I don't like the show, but I'm not in love with the animation. Let me hear your guys' thoughts on the animation itself. Michelle.
It was okay. I'm gonna say as well, I'm not really it didn't really do it for me. And then for some reason sometimes it just felt kind of off with the audio. I don't know. It just honestly I found myself sort of zoning out and not really enjoying parts of it. And for someone who has a hard time watching animation, that this didn't help me at all. So
fair enough. Courtney,
how did you do with
go ahead.
How did you do with Captain America, just the movie in general? Were you a fan of it? You were able to stay, because I know a lot of people that when they talk about Captain America: The First Avenger, that's one of their little nitpicky things is that it's a slower movie, and this really I felt fit the pacing of that movie. Like, so this 30-minute episode fit the pacing of that movie, which already is a slower movie. So I just wonder if maybe that may have played a factor into it too.
And see, to me, this was like super fast. Like all of a sudden it's just like boo, 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 like go, and I'm just like, okay, apparently now we're fighting Red Skull and it's almost over. And I'm like, wait, she just got the serum. Like, what's happening?
Yeah, it did go pretty fast on that.
Yeah. So that part actually kind of annoyed me. I get it. It's supposed to be short, but it was just like, okay, calm down. But watching Captain America, see, I like those. I've always liked watching characters from the start, you know, through that progression. So something like the Captain America movie kind of just, I actually enjoy that. So yeah, I had no problem watching the actual movie. I think it's just the animation that just didn't grab me. Sometimes animation will, and this time it's
its own style.
Yeah.
Courtney?
It's not my favorite style of animation, but as it went in, it didn't bother me as much. Yeah, I mean, it does feel like I think Blythe is the one who said it when we were discussing this before we started recording. I think he's the one who said it feels like Saturday morning cartoons when we were kids. And I dig that feel of it. Sometimes the facial expressions threw me a little bit, but other than that, they were good. I didn't have a problem with it.
And them giving her China's jaw, the wrestler.
Yeah, see, I don't.
Of course, wrestling.
I don't think that was.
That
I
wasn't
don't
on
agree
purpose,
with you on that, but
I thought it was a little, especially
I
at
don't think
first.
she had China's jaw. And in China's defense, I met her once. She was an incredibly kind woman.
I'm not saying anything negative
So,
about her.
Just say it. Just say it.
Okay, Blythe, go ahead.
Yes. So I don't think you could have done this in a different animation style, only because the familiarity with the characters from the movies and then portraying the characters from the movies, they needed a little bit of a third dimension added to them. And you don't want to go full like 3D CGI because that never really turns out well. So I think they picked a good animation style for what they were going for, because you're right, if they would have tried to do this in like the same kind of art format as like the DC movies or the DC animated, it wouldn't have worked. I don't want to say, because the DC stuff is a little bit more like up in age, so I don't want to say it's more cartoony, but it just it doesn't feel like a movie universe, and that's where this is coming from, is the movie universe.
Fair enough. Actually, okay, this is actually what I think about the animation. Remember the animation from the Take On Me video? This is what happens 40 years later.
This is the better CGI of
it's the kindest, and I say, I'm not harping on it. It's not my favorite, but as I said, by the end of it, I didn't notice it, so that's a good thing. You know, there's things that I will stop reading comics in general if I don't like the art style. I would not have liked this style when I went into it, but the story was good enough and the movement was good enough that it was good. An issue I had was Colonel Flynn. He was lazy writing. That was way over the top. You can't do that. You're a woman. I'm like, oh, I mean, I get what they were doing, but that was lazy writing. They could have done it a whole lot better.
See, I disagree with that.
Yeah,
that's the 40s.
It was over the top.
But that's the 40s. That was how the time period was. And that's what she dealt with in her own show, as Courtney, I'm sure, was about to tell you. Go on, Courtney.
Yeah,
but.
yeah. Well, and I agree with Blythe. And one thing I will also say is Flynn is voiced by Bradley Whitford, who, if anybody remembers the one-shot, the Agent Carter one-shot that happened, he is actually the man who has to answer when she gets promoted to head of the SSR. And he does the same thing to her in that. So I like the cyclical nature of having the same actor do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's what she dealt with. It's a big part of the first season of Agent Carter is because she can move and operate because the men don't pay attention to her. So she's able to figure out what's going on with Leviathan way before everybody else does, because she's a woman and they don't belong in the field. So, I mean, it's all, I mean, one, it is the 40s. Like you said, that's what women were treated like. I mean, there's no sugarcoating it. That's what women were treated like. And so to have it in there, I think it was a good tactic. And again, I love the fact that Bradley Whitford is the voice both times, is the actor both times. It's a nice kind of homage, because I think, if I remember correctly, Blythe, correct me if I'm wrong, I know they have said Agent Carter isn't canon anymore, but I don't know if the one shot is not canon anymore. So it's possible.
This is going to be a tough discussion constantly with is it canon? Is it not? Like, it's a multiverse. Nothing.
It's a multiverse. I think you're going to say that the TV shows are their own universe. They have said that this is canon, but within the multiverse. So again, It's for Marvel to be able to pick and choose what they want from the stuff that they've done before and the stuff that they have coming up.
It's like
so if
Star Wars all over again. Okay.
If we want to pull out
yeah, but done
Daredevil
properly.
and Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, but leave Iron Fist over there, you can do all that, and it's fine because it's the multiverse.
Bye-bye, Iron Fist.
Yeah,
I just have to say that
another bad writing. Go ahead, Michelle.
I just have to say that I love Bradley Whitford anyway, and
Me
I
too.
hate the Colonel, but it's exactly right as far as the time, and sadly, a lot of that stuff women still deal with. So I think it was pretty spot on, and I think he did a perfect job with that character. Like, he made me hate him.
And come on, you absolutely have to love when she looks at him and says, "Colonel, you're lucky you're in the room." Because it was just delivered beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
And then she goes, beats up some Nazis. I'm happy.
Okay, so speaking of Nazis, we had the blonde soldier, which the only reason I'm bringing it up is because when he gets punched by Peggy, he looks like Glass Joe from NES's Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. I mean, literally, it's the exact. I don't know if they like overlaid it, but I'm like, that's Glass Joe. That's awesome.
Now, see, I did have a problem with that, only because he gets out of the tank and says they've sent a fragile Fraulein to.
That's again lazy writing.
Wait, after she's just laid waste. To like she's
lifted cars,
she's flipped a tank, she stopped a tank, she's like beat the snot out of everybody around her, and he's like, "Oh, the fragile Fraulein who just lifted the tank over her head." Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think it's lazy writing. I think it's totally.
I think
attitude.
It was funny. It
makes it funny, yeah, but it's totally the attitude.
He was a giant masculine Nazi. That's 100% what he would have said walking out of the tank.
Totally.
And then
I literally said, "She just threw a tank."
What more do you want?
I do have a question. Was Captain America able to stop a moving car and throw it over his head? I don't know if we've ever seen that.
I mean,
wow,
has he been in that situation?
He's
sure.
You know what? I think he does in Age of Ultron.
No, that's a motorcycle.
I know he does a motorcycle, but I think he does. I think he does a car too, doesn't he? Maybe he doesn't.
He does a car.
Maybe he doesn't.
With the minimal effort that it takes him to just jump off the motorcycle, hold the handlebars, and just toss that motorcycle, I wouldn't be surprised if he could also just toss a car.
Okay, that sounds like Marvel explaining, but it's all good.
She didn't really toss it though. You know, she didn't pick it up and chuck it like Wonder Woman does in her movie. She literally, it comes at her and she lifts it, basically flips it over her head.
So she used the momentum of the car to toss it over.
She doesn't really throw it. She doesn't really like chuck it.
Wow.
She doesn't chuck it like a football.
I think you're just discrediting her whole like thing. Well, she didn't actually.
I don't
know. No, I'm not. I'm not.
Don't even. No, don't. Okay.
It was
I
still
just
rad.
with Courtney.
It was still rad. It was just she flipped it over the back of her head. You know.
Okay. The.
I mean, she did beat a Kraken, so I mean, we can't really discredit how.
We'll
cool
get into
she
that
is.
in just a second on that because I'm curious on that. I love the ragtime with the airplane fight scene. She's fighting airplanes in the sky with ragtime music, and I'm like, I'm in. This is cool.
I told you it's the same thing they do. They use swing music.
Yeah.
For her
fighting airplanes.
The diner scene. The diner scene in Agent Carter. If you don't even want to watch the whole thing, go Google this fight scene. It's worth it just for that. Like Haley Atwell literally broke a stuntman's nose while doing that fight scene. So
that's awesome.
Does anyone want Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans to come back so Robert Downey Jr. can make the nanites form a tiny handle on his back, and then Steve can just grab it and ride him around? I thought that was just the funniest thing that they built a handle on
for Peggy to jump on the
why wouldn't they
grab it.
I love it.
Okay.
Convenience.
Now, what is
Right.
when Agent Carter goes into the I don't know we don't know what did she go into that made the time
No.
stop? What was she fighting? Was it Cthulhu? Was it yeah, go ahead, Courtney.
My question is, how did Red Skull get the Tesseract again? Because Howard had it.
He had it in the Hydra Stomper
Unless there
when
is
the train
a-
exploded.
Yeah.
The train
He put
exploded.
it in the Hydra Stomper?
Yeah, the Tesseract is in the Hydra
Oh,
Stomper.
thank
Like it's
you.
where
I
the
thought
arc
it
reactor
was-
would be.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah,
I
I
missed
thought.
that too.
Okay, I thought Howard had invented the arc reactor early. Now that makes a whole lot more sense.
Yeah,
And that's an answer to your question, Dub. If he just inserted the Tesseract, then Tony can still create the arc reactor because we don't have that now.
Fair
Thanks,
enough.
Flies.
And Blythe, you wanted to hit something about Excalibur or what was going on with
Oh yeah,
that?
so I just thought it was funny in a show that really doesn't have many Easter eggs. It did seem like this was one. When she pulls the sword off of the wall and she comes down and she superhero lands, I got a big feeling of Captain Britain, which is supposed to be like a meld of what she is in this, because he did wield Excalibur for some time in the book. So I thought that was a pretty cool and fun
and I
little
mean,
thing that they did.
She literally yanks it out of the stone.
Yeah.
And it's not just like hanging on the wall and she just grabs it. She literally, and they make a big point of showing that she yanks it out of the stone. So I actually am inclined to agree with you on that.
Nice.
Blythe. I think it's a Captain Britain homage.
Yeah.
Okay, so real quick, let's get all our grades for this. Let's start with Michelle. Give us your grades for this episode of What If.
I'm gonna be brutal. I will give it a C plus.
Okay.
Give it a C plus.
It's not brutal for someone who's not a big fan of animation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially after the Kevin Smith episode. I've seen your brutality.
If you haven't watched that, check it
Go
out.
back and watch it now.
If you want to see me be really snotty. Yeah, it's the animation. I didn't like I liked watching her, like I said, just totally kick some butt. I liked that part. I just felt like everything was really rushed through. And again, like with the animation and the audio, I don't know, it lost me. I think it could have been done better. So that's just
fair enough.
That's my opinion.
Blythe.
Give it an A. It was exactly what I wanted it to be. I didn't see anything. There was no letdowns for me. Like, I knew the animation style going into it. I knew what it was going to be about. Like I said, we'll see what happens in the next couple episodes of stuff we don't know is coming up. But this fulfilled all of my expectations that I had.
Very good. Courtney?
I'm gonna go with an A because it's my girl Peggy. Any excuse to give me some more Peggy Carter beating people up, and I'm in. I'm sold.
Fair enough. Okay, I actually want to give this 2 grades. First time I watched it after my first viewing, B+ to A-, because this is a show that you need to watch and just have an emotional response to. On the second watch, when I started kind of picking apart and dealing with animation, all that, it goes down to a B to B-. So I think I'm going to have to watch these once and just get the emotional response and then stop. And that's not an insult. That's just, I think that's the way these shows have to be watched, because there's a lot that I don't like about it, but the emotional core of it makes it a lot higher. So yeah, I guess I'll be watching these once instead of multiple times, and I can't do that.
Looks like me and Courtney are going to be writing the scripts for these episodes.
You and me, baby.
The scripts.
My grade had nothing to do with Peggy. I love her. I'm just putting that disclaimer out.
No. We've seen this episode how both Courtney and Michelle do not like Peggy Carter all that much.
Yep, they hate Peggy Carter.
Oh yeah,
Hate her.
yeah.
So
love Peggy.
Remember to comment on all our social medias to get a entry into our by the end of the 9 episodes, we're gonna get somebody a cool new shirt out of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in case everybody doesn't know, I'm going to totally do it now because it's available on the internet. Next episode is what if it was T'Challa who was taken by the Reavers
Instead of
and
Peter.
not Peter Quill.
And that's gonna be a good one, I think.
It'll
I
be
hope.
fun.
It should be fun. Okay, so until we catch you guys next week, I'm Dub. I'm here with Michelle. I'm here with Courtney. I'm here with Blythe. Keep on geeking on, guys.
You have been listening to the latest episode of the iHeart Geek Show. Make sure you visit our website at www.iheartgeekshow.com. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you check us out on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And keep on geeking on to all of you geek rock stars.